Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. Okay. Now, before we get into this is pretty interesting. Okay, New York City and Florida are about to, New York City just declared social media an environmental toxin, and they're going to classify it as a public health hazard, particularly for youngins. I'm going to tell you about that, as well as Florida lawmakers are just moved a step closer to banning social media for anyone under 16 in their whole state. First state to do that. Now, it hasn't happened yet, but it's moving that way. It passed the House today. So we're going to get into that in a minute, and whether or not we should do that, whether or not it's the parents' fault exclusively, or the parents' problem exclusively to deal with, or if it is also partially the social media's problem to deal with. That's going to be fascinating. But first, about whether or not Haley should get off the ballot, that's up next in a moment. You can chime into that if you want to already on that too at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. But as far as Nikki Haley getting off the ballot, I think she should. And regardless of whether the RNC withdrew its demands to do that, and even what's her name, Ronna McDaniel said it's time to step aside. What does she say? She says, looking at the path going forward, I don't see it for Nikki Haley. There's a message coming out from voters, which is very clear. We need to unite around our eventual nominee, which is going to be Donald Trump. It's 10 months away until the election. We can't wait any longer to put the foot on the gas and beat the worst president. Amen to that. Now, Reuters, 1 month ago, Reuters Ipsos poll said that Trump and Biden were tied 1 month ago. Today, Trump leads Biden by 6 points. The same poll from even a month ago to 6-point advantage today. Were you better off 4 years ago than you are today? That's the question. How was the world doing? Did we have 3 wars going on? One in the Middle East, one in, or at least 2 wars going on, and one in Russia, Ukraine? Did I miss one? Too much in my head right now. Or did I make one up by saying 3? Nikki Haley also, the Wall Street Journal said this. They were wrong on 2 things in the past 48 hours, which happens. The editorial board, they're milquetoast Republicans on some things, on a lot of things. So just because I like them and quote them a lot doesn't mean they're right half the time or a quarter of the time. Anyway, they said Haley in today's editorial today revealed Trump's weaknesses. Haley revealed Trump's weaknesses. She said that they say Trump's 11-point victory was less than most recent poll shows. Oh, an 11-point loss. That's evidence. 11 points. Oh. Wouldn't they have said it's over at 25 points, 30 points? That was never going to happen. He got over 50. It's freaking over. Yeah, so that's just done. Okay, now, the New York City mayor declared social media an environmental toxin. In fact, here it is. Here he is.
It's like a digital fentanyl, and even the most plugged-in parent or attuned teen has a hard time shutting the door.
They're just taking advantage of kids growing up.
We are the first major city in America to take this step.
They declared social media an environmental toxin and a public health hazard. Young people must be protected from harm online, they say. Mental health has been declining for over a decade. One report says data from 2021 shows on weekdays, 77% of New York City high schoolers spend 3 or more hours a day in front of screens, not homework. TikTok, YouTube, dude, 3 hours a day staring at a screen. Because of my job, I have to my glasses for reading it's my freaking nose hurts from the glasses being on so long. It's because I'm doing so much work. I'm doing more lately than I have been before, so it's like I like taking them off and leaving them off. Anyway, so I have to stare at a screen a lot because of my job, not because I'm being drawn into social media, When I'm drawn into it, it's like 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, get off, not 3 hours. And I know everybody's different, but the Surgeon General in 2023 issued an advisory warning of a profound risk of youth mental health. Here's the questions I have for you. Chime in right now. Do you think social media is the next big tobacco for our kids? I do. I think it is. And I've been saying that, I don't know, for a long time. Do you think the government should slap a wrist out, just slap a warning on it, I should say, or do more like an advertising against it as well and regulate it more for our kids? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in now at 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. So, yeah, I totally think that it's the big tobacco. It's hurting kids horribly in a profound it's profoundly hurting our kids, getting them to be more suicidal, more depressed, to thwack off their you-know-whats before they go through puberty and their early 20s and say, you know what, almost all of them end up saying, I want to stay the way I am, I think it does that. I think it makes them depressed. I think it drives them more to self-harm and suicide. And when you look at TikTok, it's a Chinese malware app. Our number again is 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. Sound off now on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. The best description I've heard in a nutshell from a former Intel person on Fox News is that TikTok is a Chinese malware app. That's all it is. It is the TikTok here is not the TikTok that China sees. Its kids only are on TikTok. China is totally different. The kids are only allowed to be on it for 1 hour. Per day. Number two, it teaches math and reading and other things that has nothing to do with what we see. They poison us to this malware app by because China loves Hamas, loves terrorists, loves Iran, hates Jews, hates us. They've always been anti-Semitic, the Chinese Communist Party. And so they teach our children to hate their country, hate their government, hate their constitution, hate the founders, say that they're racist, that this country is founded on racism, that cops are racist, hate the cops, want to destroy this country, tear down statues, love Hamas, love terror attacks. It's the Jews that are bad. Iran's fine. China is great and benevolent, but hate your country and thwack off your you-know-what, so that you don't want to go into the military, you don't want to grow up to be a real man or a real woman. If we can bastardize these children and have them do things to themselves and hate their country, we can destroy it from within, and it's working. It's working. And Facebook doesn't give a frog's fat you-know-what, and they run Instagram, as we know, and such. They don't give a frog's fat you-know-what about our kids. They care about money. They know that our kids are being destroyed. The Wall Street Journal has done stuff on them. Many other places have, and some of their former employees have released stuff, and other reports have given information behind the scenes about they know about this, and they don't care about it. We try this, we try that, but they want to make money, and they need more views, more likes, more engagement, and so they make it like crack. But TikTok is super bad. TikTok doesn't even your child and who they follow and what they like. That has no relevancy in what their feed is. I'm going to explain that next. Let's go to Renee in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Renee.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
What you got?
So I just wanted to say that we have a tyrannical government right now in America, especially, but pretty much every government has been that way. And I think everybody might agree with me that you can see that America is trying to lean towards communism.
Yes.
They seem to favor communism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Socialist, and then go to communism. Socialism, then communism. Yes, go ahead.
Right. Yeah, so I just don't think the government is the answer, because right now we have a tyrannical government, and it's almost like they're leaning towards genocide in many ways, and
yes.
I don't trust them.
Right.
So, yeah.
Let me ask you this.
That parents are the answer.
I agree they're the answer, but do you agree that the social media companies, Facebook and TikTok chiefly, do you believe that they are the big tobacco of today by harming our children tremendously, like before we learned about cigarette smoking and all this stuff and, you know, all the warnings and ads to at least really discourage it, and laws saying you can't do it until this age?
Yeah, I think that it's an addiction. I do. I do think that we can easily, any of us of any age can easily get addicted.
So it's
to our
addictive
phone.
like tobacco, like nicotine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that. However, I think that as an adult, if I didn't have TikTok, I wouldn't have any news. I wouldn't really know what's going on because I get my news from TikTok. That's where I find out information because the people that are living in the cities where things are happening are given the news. And I can believe them a lot more than I can believe a journalist. So for me as an adult, I appreciate TikTok.
Wow.
Now, Facebook and Instagram, I don't care. Get rid of those.
What about Twitter? Because that's where I get beyond all my research and looking at a million sites that I trust. I also I get a ton of stuff. I don't want TikTok on my phone because they have access to all your microphone, your pictures, every one of your contacts. They have everything, and that's the Chinese Communist Party owns it and runs it.
No, that's Singapore. You got to do your research.
No. You don't understand something. Look. You need to do your research. Because the company is a China-based company, and you need to understand that any company that is based in China, it's in their laws and in their constitution. Anything you do, if you own a company, is subject to, they could take everything, all your data, everything, and that is ultimately stored and kept there. You got to do your homework. I'm not trying to be rude.
Now, I saw the court ruling with the man who created TikTok.
Yes.
And
you saw that.
Yes, and it was absolutely asinine the way that the people in America were questioning him. I mean, it was as if they were completely clueless.
Where did you hear about this? Where did you get all this information from?
I watched the court proceedings.
Okay, but that didn't
I know what happened.
That was a public thing. That didn't give you what you needed to do. I would urge you to read the Wall Street Journal pieces that tell you about everything, including
the Wall Street Journal.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't trust journalists.
Okay,
whatsoever.
Don't worry.
I think it's all bent.
Do you trust me? Do you trust me?
I don't know you.
Okay.
But I do trust the man who made TikTok, and I do trust his words. He's also put Texas over the United States.
All right, listen. I got to roll. I'll refute stuff coming up next, but I do appreciate your call, Renee, okay?
All right.
I'm glad they haven't got you to change your mind about our tyrannical government. I appreciate you with that on that. Have a good night. Okay, I'll tell why it's not the case at all, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be rude or either way. All right, so do you think social media is the next big tobacco for our kids? Do you think the government should just slap a warning on it or do more like advertise against it and regulate it more for our kids like tobacco? 800-288-WBAP. I have an argument to do that, actually, even though she had some good points. 800-288-9227. That's up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP. And I'm going to tell you about Florida is on the precipice of passing a law banning social media for all kids under 16. Why I think that's good. Coming up next, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Okay, here's just a couple of things from my 30-second. I already remember all sorts of things about TikTok that I've read in reports in the past year or two. And I'll read them off to you right now. Justice Department probes TikTok's tracking of United States journalists. TikTok is tracking our journalists who are doing stories and investigating about TikTok. The Chinese freaking Communist Party, I'll read it again, the Justice Department, I remember this was all over the news. It was not on TikTok with their news because you will never see it on the feeds. Justice Department probes TikTok's tracking of United States Journal. Federal investigation follows ByteDance admission, that's TikTok's parent company, that employees misuse records. They tracked our journalists. That's number one. So I use TikTok if I want China to know where I'm at, what I'm doing. Number two, here we go. On TikTok, it's all fun and games till China wants your info. The app could be stealing your fingerprints or turning your smartphone into a listening device. Two things. Leaked audio of TikTok's own internal meetings contradicts the company's sworn testimony to Congress last fall. She said she watched the testimony. Here you go. It's contradicting it. What he said was not true according to their own meeting. Audio leaked from it. U.S. data user, quote, that U.S. data user is managed by a world-renowned U.S.-based security team. Wrong. American staff also couldn't access the data on their own and had to ask Chinese colleagues where the information was going. They had to go to China to ask where the information was going. China engineers had access to non-public user data in China of our data. There's more on this. The recordings, the vast majority of situations were China-based staff accessing user data in the United States. That's a 10-second search. I'll give you one more piece. TikTok tracked users who watch gay content, prompting employee complaints. Their own employees say this. Former ByteDance executive says Chinese Communist Party accessed TikTok's user data in Hong Kong, which is not in China. They're doing it all. So, hard pass. Do you think social media is the next big tobacco for our kids? 800-288-9227 is our number, 800-288-WBAP. And do you think the government should just slap a warning on it, or should it do more, like advertising against it and regulate it more for our kids? I want them to do more. I'm not a big government liberal. I'm not a big government fake conservative. I want the government to treat it like it's tobacco. And when 16 is fine with me, actually, 16 up. It's stopping the suicidal. The later it can be, the better. And it is the parents. I understand that. But look, I don't know a parent who hasn't struggled with this and where things have happened, some things that are worse than something's happening that many of us have gone through and our friends. And how many I have a young daughter, and how many of her friends and others struggle with self-harm and worse. And this stuff amplifies it. And they find people with like groups that amplify it. And TikTok does not feed your daughter and my son what they follow. They don't. TikTok is the only app that feeds you nothing to do with what you follow, who you like, who you follow. It doesn't. They tell you what you're going to see. You don't pick it, nor does it care about what you like. And in fact, the Journal has started 13-year-old apps under a 13-year-old account and watched it, several of them, and watched it. They did a whole investigation on it. You know what they found? It tells you within a couple of 18 minutes, it was telling her self-harm. Woman, kill yourself. The more they can get to kill our kids, the more China is happy. It is the largest malware app, is a Chinese malware app. That former Intel official on Fox was exactly right. It is a Chinese malware app. And last but not least, yes, they can access your microphone and your phone. Here in the recordings, intercompany recordings in their U.S. meetings, the vast majority of situations where China-based staff access U.S. data were in service. A little bit more here. There's also the Chinese government might find valuable data in TikTok. They collect users, about American users. They're talking about facial imprints, fingerprints. They have access to your phone. They can listen if they want to. You cannot stop them from taking over and listening on your phone. Your phone will give you more on that. But in Florida, they're looking at passing a bill. It passed the House. We're going to go to that next on the Chris Crock Show. Do you think social media is the next big tobacco for our kids? 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Chris Crock Show. And I wanted to share this part, too, with social media. We got New York City declaring it a public health hazard, an environmental toxin, and saying that they're slapping warnings on it and such. In May 2023, Surgeon General Vivek Murthy issued an advisory warning excessive use of social media could be a profound risk for youth mental health. Children have also become unknowingly participants in a decades-long experiment. We know enough to now take action and protect our kids. Do you think it's just like tobacco? Do you think social media is just like tobacco with our kids and should be regulated as such? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Sound off now. 800-288-9227. Florida is, their House passed a law. Now it goes to the Senate, and then, of course, DeSantis would have to sign it. He has not said no. He is the best Republican governor we have in this country right now, and he's where he belongs right now as the governor. They are could be the first state to ban minors from using social media. If enforced, Meta, TikTok, all of them will have to permanently remove underage. Look at this. Permanently remove underage Florida accounts from their platform and prevent future minors from creating an account regardless of their approval of parents. Parents' approval doesn't even matter. They have to be 16 or older. I actually like that. I mean, and by all means, you might say you're wrong and here's why, but I like that on first blush. And the reason why I like it is because then it's not an option. I think of uniforms in in schools, public school or private schools. It takes away a lot of the competition with clothes and all the BS. And then there's standards. I think of this as, I can't stare my life away and share my life away and get poisoned until I'm 16. And so here, because this actually is pretty detailed. And I like it, but maybe you can convince me otherwise. I mean, I'm not super whatever, but I like this. I do. I like it because of the harm it does. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Sound off now at 800-288-WBAP. Do you think social media is the next big tobacco for our kids? And do you think the government should do more than slap a warning on it? Like maybe advertise against it, regulate it more for our kids? And one of the things I thought about, is it the parents' job only? I think about when we were young, when we tried to buy smokes, at least some of us, I guess I'm including myself in that, obviously. I smoked like a fiend for dozens of years. I quit about 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I don't know anymore. I quit before I came here 14 years ago, but I dabbled a little for a few years. And then I was like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this. And so we realized in what? I mean, I don't remember the exact time frame, and I don't have it. I don't need to research it. But somewhere in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it became known widely about how bad it is. And then it became something where if you're 18 or older, depending on where you're at, 21 or older, but I think it should be 18 or older as an adult. You know what I'm saying? You're going to tell a freaking guy or gal that's serving us in the military can't buy a pack of freaking smokes? Alcohol is different. The frontal lobe is still developing until the early 20s, actually. That's the justification for that. That's very interesting, with reason in the mind. So that's why people like me are, when we're young, boys, I should say, are so Beavis and Butthead. You know what I'm saying? So Florida wants to make it so you're 16 or under, 16 or over to be able to do social media. And in fact, the new bill says that platforms are potentially harming the minor's health, and that companies are designing features to have addictive qualities. See, there's where it is, addictive qualities, and we all know they do. We all know they make it addictive because they want to make their product addictive, and that is just like tobacco. And that's where I got to say it should be regulated. That's where I can't have a problem with it. What do you say? Chime in now at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Do you think social media is the next big tobacco for our kids? And do you think the government should slap a warning on it, or do a lot more like advertise against it, regulate it more for our kids like tobacco? Social media companies would be required in Florida. It passed the House. Now it's got to go to the Senate and then DeSantis' desk. Social media companies would be required to verify the account holder's age as 16 or older every time a new account is created on the platform. And verification measures must be conducted by third parties that are not affiliated with the social media platform. I like that. I think about this. Ready? I've never done this before. It's annoying to me, but I have no problem with it. My company is doing an audit for people that have dependent health care. So I'm going to have to produce evidence of my 20-year-old and 17-year-old that they're actually my kids, because they've been paying for their medical care as well, you know what I mean, as a company. And I think that's great. If anybody's frauding them, good, nail them. Fire them. You know what I mean? That's stealing. Actually, I would say you're paying it back out of your last paycheck and you're fired, right? Because that's fraud. Maybe you prosecute them. I mean, what if you paid $10,000 to somebody over the past 5 years for their kids' health care and they're not kids, right? That's medical health care fraud or whatever. Anyway, so I have to produce that I'm sure I'm going to have to show like some kind of birth certificate or something. residency proof that they live in my house. I don't know what it'll be, but I've got it, and I'm fine with that. I've never had it happen to me in the 14 years of being here, so I'm like, I'm fine. I don't care, whatever. I'm annoyed by it, but that's all. Anyway, social media companies would require to do that. You'd have to prove that and turn it in and show it. I think that's fan-freaking-tastic, y'all. And how many of us start up new accounts all the time? And the kids might, but now you have to prove it every time. So do one and be done. There you go. There won't be kids competing and sharing and showing their breastises when they're 12 years old, 12-year-old girls, you know what I mean? All that horrible stuff. It'll be hard. So the people won't prey on the chest of the child molesters and such. Happens all the time. Mark at Fort Worth, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Mark.
Hey, I kind of agree with you on definitely a warning label, because sometimes my granddaughter chats all the time.
Right.
But she also participates in student chats, kind of like a group study.
How old is she?
They're talking about the subjects that they're taking.
How old is she?
16, but she's been doing this even when she was in middle school.
Right. You know, one of the things they call it, one of the state reps in Florida says it's digital fentanyl. Even the most plugged-in parent or attuned teen has a hard time shutting the door against these addictive features. I agree. I'm one of them. I'm not a victim, but I agree. Don't you?
Yeah, there's been some times I've had they live with us. I've had stuck my head in and, hey, let's shut that down. You need to get some sleep.
Yeah, you and I need to have the passwords to their thing, by the way, because you need to know. Actually, here's what we need to know. What are your accounts? And follow them. And even if you have a silent account that doesn't show your grandpa, because that'll be embarrassing, and you follow them.
Yeah.
That's one idea. And then I would say every once in a while, just say I love you. But for accountability, I'm going to hang on to I'm going to look at your phone and just see what you got. Just show it to me. Now you might say no. There's been issues in some close friends of mine with their kids, and after the trust was broken, they did that. After the trust was broken, so it's not easy with this. And what we don't want to be is overboard and Nazi-esque parents, because you want to. I have a dear friend of mine who's a mentor who said, I'm so proud of you the other day. He's like, your daughter and your son, you've done this and that, and there's been issues that have come up and you've handled it well and you didn't condemn. And so I'm not that parent, and that's the worst parent you can be. That's how you drive your child away and make things worse for them and for you, right?
Yeah, one of the reasons they're living with us is some domestic violence issues, and she has trust issues with men.
Well, that's understandable.
Over the last several years, she's opened up more to me.
Good.
I'm a step granddad, so.
Okay, is grandma tight with her too?
Tries to be.
Tries to be. Is she in the building with you?
Oh no, I'm out working right now.
No, but is she in the building with you? Is your wife in the building with you to help raise her in this?
Oh yes.
Okay, so I mean,
she's one of these people that if you look like you're, frustrated or something, she'll ask, "Are you mad at me?" That just
that's bad. Yeah, that's bad.
I'm not mad at you,
huh? Right.
Yeah, she'll go, "Oh, I'm not mad at you."
You can say, "Hey, what's wrong?" You see, you got to sit down right at the end of the bed, or sit down at their eye level, not talk to them from above, and say, "Hey, what's going on? You seem like you're a little upset. Are you okay? Something going on?" Versus saying it's non-accusatory. Right?
Yeah.
So she has trouble with that. Grandma does.
Yeah, and I've pointed that out to her, but we're working on that.
Trust me, that is a freaking work in progress. As you know, with you, with me, with our wives. So I 100% understand. I have grown so much better as a person through my faith and through mentoring that I sought out over the past 10 years, honestly, 15 years, that I've grown a lot in that. And it's the right way to do it. And it's not that judgmental, harsh, but we have values, and those values don't change. And my stuff doesn't change. But my treatment, my actions, my handling, my talking to you about it, and what I tell you about and what I withhold without, so that way it comes across the right way, and in doing it in the right way is critical. Go ahead, sir.
One of the things I think is even more important than this issue is this teaching of gender. That has messed her head up.
That happens. That is enhanced and put on fire from social media.
Yes.
That has destroyed our young women, our girls, and our boys. That is exactly what social media has done. And I think it's a combination of that from social media is a big frickin', I'm telling you something. That's where it all comes. It gets shoved at them, poured on them, shoved at them. I
finally convinced her that, hey, we don't allow you to smoke cigarettes. We don't allow you to own guns. You don't get to vote. You don't get to do a lot of things without parental permission. Even if it is.
Yeah, we love you, and
why are we going to let people mutilate your bodies without parental permission?
Why are we going to let people who don't share our values
before you're 16?
Say it again.
And why should they even be able to do that when somebody's below 16 or 18?
And that's kind of where I'm thinking this is the right way to go. I appreciate you.
Hey. Yeah. You're a grown adult, and you want to,
You can thwack it off. I won't like it, but I'll love you, anyways.
Yeah,
that's the message I send. That's the message thank you for your wonderful call, Grandpa. You're doing a great job. That's the message that we've got to send to our daughters and our sons that are rebellious, quote unquote, or are looking to thwack it off, thwack their hoo-ha off downstairs and become a woman, or thwack off their breastises and become a man, is to say, I love you. I don't agree with that. And you know my feelings. And if you don't, you can share them gently, but you don't freaking disown them or yell at them or tell them they're wrong or something's wrong with them. I love you. I don't agree with that. And I'm always going to love you no matter what you do. But when you're in my home, the values of this family are, as you know, I will not condemn you, and I will not tell you, I will not hurt you. But you know how I feel, and my love for you won't change regardless. That's what they need to hear, is that you will always love them no matter what, that you will not condemn them, that you will not judge them. Now, the way you do it is you let them know you don't agree, you let them know why, but you do it gently and softly, but you don't tell them that they're wrong. You don't tell them how to think. You don't tell them that something's wrong with them. That's how you destroy them. Sorry, passionate. Coming up next, your thoughts. And I'll tell you what researchers have found out at UNC. What social media does with addiction on kids. Next on the Chris Crock Show, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you think social media is the next big tobacco for our kids? And do you think the government should just slap a warning on it, or do more like advertise against it and regulate it more for our kids? That's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. Oh, by the way, also Taylor Swift, speaking of some of this radical agenda stuff, Taylor Swift and all of her busted woke hypocrisies. Next. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, Chris Crock Show. In a moment, all the hypocrisies of woke hypocrite Taylor Swift. But first, on the research at UNC Chapel Hill, they found this. Talk about changes with social media and addiction. Changes indicate that social media addicted kids will grow up to become hypersensitive to feedback from others. Does that sound familiar? When somebody gets a bad grade or gets, judged for their behavior, not if we can judge people's behavior. Don't ever forget that. We judge them for drinking and driving, for stealing, etc. That's their behavior. So we should and can judge behavior. Okay, now this. Taylor Swift busted as woke hypocrite on 5 activist issues from Breitbart. She's a climate change proponent, but she's also a jet-setting elite who flies her private aircraft to visit her NFL boyfriend. That's 1. She's a humanitarian, but also a headliner for communist China. That's 2. She whines about the patriarchy, but has allowed personal attacks at Senator Marsha Blackburn and endorsed a male Democrat over her. She champions women and feminism, but has stayed silent on Hamas terrorists sexually assaulting the Israeli captives. She never said a dang word about it. No girl power. Nope, not for the Jews. No girl power. Screw them. She's remained conspicuously silent about sexual assaults carried out by the terrorist, the Jew-hating Islamist terrorist Hamas, and the Israeli captives. In fact, she hasn't spoken about October 7th at all. What's she afraid of? Good point, guys, at Breitbart. And then lastly, she has made LGBTQ activism the center of her public image, but has allowed her concert movie to show a country where being gay is illegal. Yes. The Eras Tour, or however you pronounce it, in Dubai is in the UAE, and that's where being gay is actually illegal. And same-sex activity is punishable by imprisonment. It can land you in jail for 10 years if you actually do the act. So there you go. Tay-Tay, listen to her. Don't listen to me. All right, coming up next on the Chris Clark Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Do you want Republicans to pass the newest bipartisan bill? Do you want all the states backing Texas at the border to send support? We got a lot to say on that and all the latest news tonight. Next on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.